Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 1 Unit 0 review. Remember, this is no calculator and you need to show all of your work. Alright, looking at the directions, the first part says that we need to simplify the following expressions. Our first one is negative 15 plus 7. Okay, now are they same signs or different signs? Okay, well they're different signs. If they're different signs, we know we need to subtract. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 15 minus 7, and our answer is 8. Now, we have more negatives, so I know that that's going to be a negative 8. Okay? Number 2, we have 22 plus negative 12. We ask ourselves the same thing. Are they same signs or different signs? Well, they're different signs, so we subtract. Do we have more positives or negatives? We definitely have more positives. So we subtract those two numbers and we get an answer of 10. All right, number 3. Okay, now we're subtracting. When we are subtracting, we can do the click, so we got to add the opposite. And now, do we have more positives or negatives? We have more negatives. Subtract those two numbers, and we get a final answer of negative 11. Okay, number 4. Okay, we're subtracting the negatives, so just do click, add the opposite. So it's negative 3 plus 17. Combine that up. You get a positive 14. All right, number 5. The first thing that I would do here is count your negatives. You're multiplying everything. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay. If I have 3 negatives, right away I know my answer is negative. Now I don't even care about the negative signs. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times 15 gives us 45. Okay. All right, number 6, I would use your multiplication chart for that, okay? Try to find 216 or start at 9, go all the way across to see 216 and then go up. Okay, you're dividing two negatives, so when you divide a negative by negative, your answer is positive, and this turns out to be a positive 24. All right, number 7. Always look at kitty corners with fractions to see if you can reduce. 12 and 6 both divide by 2, so we get 2 over 1. 5 and 25, you can divide those by 5. I like to rewrite my answer, or my reduced fractions, just so I can get a better picture of what we're doing. And 2 times 5 is 10, 1 times 1 is 1. Your answer to that is just 10. Okay, number 16, number 8. Okay, we're dealing with fractions, so I'm going to turn that 16 into a fraction by putting it over 1. Right away, I see that I'm dividing by a fraction, so I want to flip that. So 16 over 1, we're changing it to multiplication, and negative 3 over 4. Okay, let's look at our corners to see if we can reduce anything. We can reduce the 16 and 4. Divide those by 4. Rewrite it. We get 4 over 1 times negative 3 over 1, which is negative 12 over 1, which is just negative 12. All right, number 9. Okay, same thing with number 9. We're dealing with fractions, so I want to make sure that is a fraction. We're dividing, so once again, we're going to flip that. So we've got 4 over negative 5 times 1 over negative 8. Okay. Can any of the kitty corners reduce? Yep, the 4 and the 8 turns to 1 and a 2. So when we rewrite that, we got 1 over negative 5 times 1 over negative 2. Multiply that straight across, and you get 1 over 10. And is it positive or negative? When you multiply two negatives, it is positive. All right, number 10. So remember, we're going to treat this like two separate problems, the top and the bottom. So I'm going to do the top first. Okay? So let's look at just the top. What we need to do first is what's inside, whoops, the parentheses. Oh my gosh, my pen is going crazy. All right, so inside the parentheses, we've got 16 plus 8. So inside, negative 5 plus 1 is negative 1. Next thing we have to do is our exponents, okay? Now, that is negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. You've got three negatives, so your answer stays negative, and 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, we're not done up top yet because we have to multiply. 8 times negative 1 gives us negative 8. And then 16 minus 8 is 8. All right, let's look at the bottom. Inside the parentheses first. So 26 minus 2 and 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay, next thing to do is to multiply. So we got 26 minus 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract those two things up and you get 16. 8 over 16, the last thing to do is to reduce, and when you reduce, divide by 8, you get your final answer of 1/2. All right, now let's take a look at 11. It says the problem below was done incorrectly. Explain the mistakes that were made by using at least one complete sentence. Okay, so the key thing that I notice about this is it says mistakes, more than one. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do the problem on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so just over to the side, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to write negative 8 plus 6 squared divided by 3 times 4. Okay, well, the first thing that we should do here is exponents. So negative 8 plus 36 divided by 3 times 4. Well, what did they do? Take a look. They did it wrong, okay? So the first thing I would say is the student did not perform, or not perform, not do the 6 squared correctly. 6 squared is 36. Okay? Now, the next thing that I would do is from left to right. Remember, because we do order of operations from left to right, I would divide. So we get negative 8 plus 12 times 4. Well, what did they do? They solved division. They multiplied. Okay? So I would go on by saying, and the student the order of operations incorrectly, okay? And that part was the multiplication and division from left to right. Okay, that's how it should have been, okay? All right, let's move on. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is evaluate the following expressions and circle or box your answer. Okay, so we know what m is. We know what n is. So we got m cubed plus 2 squared minus n. All right, let's plug everything. M is -1, -3, and -3. So we have to do parentheses first. So 2 times -3 is -6 squared. Okay, -1 to the third power. We just did that. -1 times -1 times -1. Well, that's -1. Plus -6 squared. Well, that's -6 times -6, which is a positive 36. And in the back right here, we can do click, click, and we get positive 3. Okay? So -1 plus 36 is 35 plus 3, and 35 plus 3 is 38. Okay, now order of operations. We have to do everything inside the parentheses or absolute values first. So x is -7, y is 6, and w is 8. Now, before I go off and do any of the other order of operations, I need to simplify what's inside of here. -6 or -7 minus 6. If we do click, click right there, they're both minus signs, and we can add those up. Okay? And now everything else stays the same. And now we just take the absolute value of everything. The absolute value of -13 is 13. The absolute value of 8 is 8. Okay, the absolute value of -7 is 7. All right, and 13 plus 8, 21. 21 minus 7 gives us a grand total of 14. Okay, now determine if the given value is a solution to the equation or inequality, and we need to write yes or no. Okay, so number 14, let's go ahead and start writing everything out. We have -1, oh, come on, -1/2 times -8 minus 5 less than or equal to -3. Okay. Multiply first. Half of 8 is 4. It's 2 negatives, so it's going to be positive. And then 4 minus 5 is -1. Whoops. So here's a question. Is -1 less than or equal to -3? There's -3. There's -1. 1 is actually to the right, which means it's greater. Okay, so it's greater than -3. So is it a solution? The answer, no. All right, Now, for number 15, yours might look a little different. The key thing is it should say m to the fourth right there. Okay? So m to the fourth, does that equal -8? All right, well, we are plugging in a -2. And now right away, I know the answer to this, okay? Because how many negatives do we have? Well, just remember that that's -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. So I have 4 negatives. If I have 4 negatives right away, I know my answer is positive. And they think that it's negative. So right away, I know that it's no. Okay? But when you actually solve it, you get 4, 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So does 16 equal -8? It does not. Okay. Last two. Now, when we talked about doing these in class, I highly recommend that when you're reading this, you circle any keywords that tell you what to do. Or maybe instead of doing that, if you want to highlight or underline. Okay, so it's saying the difference. Difference tells me that I need to subtract. Okay, I need to subtract 6 and twice a number. I don't know what that number is, but it is less than or equal to 9. Okay? Let's look at the next one. The next one says the product of a number and 5 is equal to -20. Okay? So the product means we're multiplying of a number and 5 is equal to -20. Okay? All right, guys, well, that's it for Algebra 1, Unit 0 review. If you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and good luck on your upcoming test.